Welcome, everybody, to another World of Nutrition podcast, which is a monthly podcast by the lovely Marilyn from Hawaii. So I think I'm going to, which we talk about nutrition and other lifestyle stuff. So I pass it over to Marilyn to kick us off.
Oh, thank you so much, Emily. Welcome to the World of Nutrition podcast. I am so thrilled. I have two amazing guests today, and they're going to share with us such a wealth of knowledge. So, first up, we have Audrey Alice. Audrey is a happily divorced mother of three boys. Her divorce in 2017 took her through some of her toughest times, some of which she didn't think that she would survive. When she did indeed not only survive, she began to thrive through practices such as embodied yoga, mindset changes, and Reiki energy work. She understood that her decision to leave her marriage hadn't broken her at all. It was transforming her into the version of herself she had been dreaming of for years. A bold, confident, powerful woman moving through life with clarity, grace, and purpose. She became the divorce coach she needed in the early years of her own journey. Thank you, Audrey, for being here. Please take it away.
Aloha, Marilyn. Thank you so much for having me. It's always so moving to hear the bio read back to me. It's my life. But yeah, I think I want to start with sharing with our listeners that if there's one thing you take away today, I want you to remember that divorce does not break you. It really does transform you. Maybe I'll share my story a little bit and start there. So once upon a time, I was happily married, or so I thought. And I was one of these people who believed that divorce was for those who didn't try enough. Divorce was the easy way out. And so on the surface, I had it all. I had the healthy, beautiful children going to the awesome schools. I had 2 cars and my 2-car garage and the beautiful house in Hawaii. And I had a seemingly loving husband with a well-paid job. And so, in Facebook land and on my Instagram feed, I looked happy. Then one day I woke up and I just knew. You have that gut feeling and you just know, I just knew that I could not do this one more day, let alone one more year or one more decade. And so I went and had to go through the hardest decision that I think I took in my life, and I asked for a divorce. So we went ahead and dismantled 21 years of life together with 3 children together. So let me take you forward now. About 12 months later, picture it. He's happy, he's moved on. I'm happy, I've moved on. The kids are thriving and balanced. Just kidding. 12 months later, we're still deep in the muck. Excuse my French. It's a complete and utter shit show. So I had gone and done what I tell all my clients to never do. I ignored and suppressed all my emotions, and I went straight into another relationship. Big no-no. So I had taken things bad, that were already bad, and it went from bad to worse. I felt so alone. More than that, I felt lonely. I have family over 7,000 miles away. All my friends were awesome, but also married, and they were still, going through their own life and dealing with their own marriages and their own stuff. And also, a really big thing that came through later, I didn't realize at the time, but I was carrying shame and guilt. I thought I'd ruined my kids, the shame of failure, quote unquote failure, failing at marriage. And so it got to the point I had taken not 1, but 2 minimum paid jobs. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. I was way overqualified and way overeducated, but I had to take minimum wage jobs, 2 of them, to make ends meet. and pay my expensive way of rent and, get through life. So picture it again, the doomed relationship, the shame, the heavy shame, the guilt, no family, no one in my circle was going through divorce. And this went on for nearly 2 years, pretty much 2 years. Until one day, a friend approaches me and she says, Audrey, there's no one else in my circle who's been through this. The only person I can think of to speak to is you. My marriage is crumbling. It's not going to make it. Will you help me? Will you help me move through this next season of my life? We are going to go through a divorce. And so, well, of course, I said, yes, let's do this. I've got you. And so from that moment, it felt like the universe heard me or heard her. And I kept attracting women. I work with men too, but mostly women. I kept attracting women going through divorce to help them find confidence again, to help them rebuild their lives, help them create a whole new identity. I had found my purpose. This is something I found I'm really good at. And also, really importantly, I did not want anybody to go through the 2+ years of rubbish that I had gone through, right? If I can help one woman to make these 2 years become a year or 6 months, then my time on earth has been for something, So again, divorce does not break you, it does transform you. This has been my experience. And I figure this takes us into a pretty good transition to move into what I do as a divorce coach. The first thing that people say to me when I say, hey, I'm Audrey and I'm a divorce coach is, what does a divorce coach do? Do you help people get divorced? Do you what's the deal, right? So I do a bunch of things. I'll share with you a couple of the most important things that I do, that I help my clients with. And the first thing I think is really important is self-love. Now, I know that some listeners have heard this word self-love and they're rolling their eyes, and believe me, I was there. That was me. Self-love. What does that even mean? Go for a pedicure or a massage. Yeah, that's fine. But we go so much deeper than that. I'm helping you realize, how do you speak to yourself? What's the first thought that goes through your mind when you wake up in the morning and you get to the bathroom and you look in the mirror? For a lot of my clients, that first thought is, ugh, you're so ugly. You look so tired. You're fat. You're old. Fill the blank, right? And the list is long. So that's where we start. In our first call, I always try and give them a compliment and I will see how they react. Because if you cannot receive a compliment, how can you receive a gift? How can you receive a client? How can you receive abundance, money, freedom, love, right? So if I say to you, oh, wow, Marilyn, you look beautiful today. And you're like, yeah, well, oh, I just brushed my hair today, or I'm wearing makeup today, or right? Literally you take a racket and you're throwing that compliment away, you deflect it. So self-love is how you speak to yourself. The thoughts in your head are the most important ones. So make sure they're nice. The words you speak to yourself, I say to my clients all the time, if you were looking at your best friend, would you say to her, ugh, you look ugly, you look fat, you look old, you look tired? If you were looking at your 5-year-old daughter or son or niece or nephew, would you say those words to them? You would not. So switch. Imagine that best friend or that 5-year-old is you, and start talking to her or him, yourself, the same as you would talk to that best friend. So that's a little bit about self-love. That's one of the things I really, really like to do. That's part of the work we do when we work together. And I am going to challenge our audience today to notice the next time that you get a compliment, hopefully it's today, probably it'll be today, notice the compliment and receive it. And instead of saying, oh, what, this old thing? Or, yeah, my hair's clean today, say thank you. Hear it, receive it, hold it, and say thank you. Another thing I do when I work with my clients is we work on mindset. Now, I don't know how many of our listeners are in the coaching world, but in the coaching world, mindset is way overused probably. And for some people, it just, what does it mean? Okay, I know what the mind is, but what's mindset? So mindset to me is working on changing our beliefs. I think it was Abraham Hicks who said, a belief is just a thought that you keep on thinking. So change the thought and you change the belief. Now, in my field, when it comes to divorce, a lot of my clients come to me, I'm going to say 100% of my clients come to me and they feel that they have done a terrible thing. They feel that they have become a terrible person. Divorce is bad. Divorce is failure, the big F word, failure. I will never be loved again, etc., etc. So one of the things I have to help you with is change that belief. To me, divorce is not failure. To me, divorce is the end, the successful end of a relationship that at best had run its course, and at worst, it had become really toxic, at least for one of the partners, and sometimes for both. And then that bleeds onto children as well. If there's cakey in the relationship, then they get the toxicity, right? So remember, divorce is not failure. Divorce is the successful ending of a relationship. You have successfully realized, understood that this relationship no longer works for you. You're making yourself small. You're not shining your light. You're also showing, again, if there's children, you're showing your children that love means self-abandoning. That love means you feel like crap so that they feel maybe okay. So that's the mindset work. We change the beliefs, we change what divorce means. And really, it's a portal we walk through for great transformation. And that's the next thing I want to talk about is transformation. The work I do with my clients is transformative. It is so powerful. I'm going to share a little story of one of my clients who came to me a few months ago, and he calls me, a man, I work with men too. He calls me, and for 2 whole minutes, he couldn't speak, not one word. All I could hear was sobbing. And if you've ever been on the phone to Spectrum or, your bank, 2 minutes is a long time. So for 2 whole minutes, he couldn't say a single word. He was so caught up in feelings of guilt and shame and failure. And when he finally was able to speak, he says to me, Audrey, I need help. I need help because at the moment, I refuse to go to sleep. I'm sleep deprived. I'm scared to go to sleep because the thought of waking up in the morning and remembering all over again that she is gone, that she has left me, that's scarier than not sleeping. So that's how he came to me. That's the energy, the vibration he had. And also he said, I'm a father. I'm a father with school-aged children who look up to me and they need me. They need me to function. They need me to be not in survival mode, right? So after a few months together, he went from somebody who was scared of going to sleep, somebody who would put himself in situations that were really not awesome for him. He's someone who doesn't like to drink alcohol, and he would end up in evenings, nights, ending up drunk and doing all those things when he doesn't want to do that, right? So instead of spending time by himself, he would put himself in bad company. And so he went from that to being a man who loves the man he has become. He loves his own company. He's understood that he is funny, that he is lovable. He remembers he is an amazing father, and he actively schedules alone time now in his calendar, in his new relationship that he's in. He says to her, hey, on Tuesday night, I'm going to go 2 hours and do XYZ. So that's the kind of transformation that we do together, that we walk through, and they transform and I hold space for them. But those are a few of the things that really I help my clients do. And I think this is a good time to share So if in the audience, if you have a friend going through divorce or someone you just meet and you're like, so what does your husband or wife do? And they say, oh no, I'm divorced. First off, connect them with me. Obviously, give them my name and number. But the thing I want you to remember is don't say I'm sorry. Do not say I am sorry, because chances are they're not sorry. And if they are sorry, you're kind of validating the fact that they've done a bad thing, or, it must be so terrible. And it's not. This is just the beginning of the rest of their lives. So what you would say instead is, wow, you are so brave. Maybe you'll even congratulate them and say, give them a high five. But again, the reminder that divorce doesn't break you, it transforms you. And if you are somebody going through divorce right now, just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. This is the beginning of the rest of your life. There is so much magic on the other side, and I can't wait to take this ride with you. So thank you for having me, Marilyn. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
I love that. So some of the notes that I was taking is, for 2 years you carried shame and guilt. Like that is a lot of weight, unnecessary,
Very heavy.
to carry. And then receiving compliments. I love that.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So
we
when
start
you
with
hear,
it doesn't sound like a lot, and people are like, of course I receive a compliment, and then I'll say it in our chat and they're like, hey, I just washed my hair today. Oh, you can't receive that compliment. And we start with little things, but it's the little things compounded together that create that big transformation. Just little shifts, one step at a time.
yes, I love that. And then change the thought to change our beliefs.
Isn't that good?
So powerful.
Yeah. Yes.
And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up is the divorce is a successful ending of a relationship. So transformation, this is really powerful for me because I'm gonna be open and vulnerable, and on the first time on my podcast just say that I'm going through a divorce right now. And hearing how you help people, how we can connect to people and know that we're not alone and know that we're not a failure.
Yeah.
And we don't have to feel shame. I don't have to feel shame. I don't have to think that I'm a failure because the marriage is ending. And I celebrate you and everything that you just said. Please tell the audience like how they can find you.
Yeah, well, congratulations on your divorce, my darling. Welcome to the rest of your life. And you can find me on my website, www.iamaudreyalice.com. On Instagram, I am at @IamAudreyAlice, and on Facebook, I am Audrey Alice as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. Thank you. Thank you again for having me, Marilyn. What a pleasure.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Audrey. And we have another amazing guest today. I would love to introduce Samantha Kaawa. She's a professional keynote speaker, author, and esteemed marriage coach, recognized for her counter-culture approach to transforming relationships. As the founder of The Gems with Samantha Kaawa and the creator of the Inner Mosaic Method, she's a beacon for individuals yearning to break through negative family patterns and lay the foundations for loving and trusting relationships. Samantha is on a mission to help save 10 million marriages by sharing her comprehensive understanding of relationship dynamics in her newest book, Finding Beauty in Your Broken Pieces: The Art and Science of Transforming Any Relationship. Her work has been showcased on major media outlets, including Fox, NBC, and CBS, and in numerous international publications. When Samantha is not busy transcending the culture of healthy relationships around the globe, she enjoys spending time with her supportive husband, Denver, and her 3 amazing daughters, Leilani, Jaslyn, and Hazley. Thank you so much, Samantha, for being here.
Thank you, Marilyn. Oh my goodness, what an honor and a treat to share the stage with you and Audrey. I love you, Audrey. You are cracking me up the whole time. And I'm just so grateful to be in your presence, Marilyn, because I know we were just texting each other the other day, and I was like, you are such a rare gem in this world, and so just so much love for you. Thank you, Marilyn. Alrighty. Well, in true Sam fashion, I came here not knowing what I'm going to share with you today. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Samantha Kaala, and yes, I am a marriage coach. I love to consider myself a marriage mind shift coach. Audrey and I have a lot of similarities, and I really love what she does, and I love her work in the world. And essentially, we do the same thing for people, one who's going through a divorce, or people, one who's wanting to stay married. And we're helping them really redefine and find themselves in who they are in a relationship or outside of the relationship, right? And so I'm just so blessed to be here and be able to showcase how we literally do the same thing. But on another note, like that's what I do on the surface, right? I support women and sometimes men, similar to Audrey. I also market myself for women, but some men find me and they say, hey, you sound like my wife, so maybe I need your perspective. And I'm like, sure, I can help you there. And I walk people through transforming the relationship by transforming themselves, right? So I think Audrey can echo this and Marilyn can echo this as well, but when we change, everything changes. When we change, our relationship changes. And spreading the message to the world that you hold the key to transform any relationship in your life is such an empowering message that I think we are all translating. We are all disseminating out to the world, right? Each and every one of us in our own unique ways. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up today intuitively, because as I mentioned, I didn't plan this. What's coming through now is that Marilyn did introduce that I just wrote my book, Finding Beauty in Your Broken Pieces, The Art and Science of Transforming Any Relationship. And one of the things that I was workshopping with my book coach, I had two book coaches, but one of my book coaches like, can we change that? Like, can it, I don't like any relationship, like, can we change it to something else? And I was like, no, it's any relationship. And one of my teaching tenets, I have a few mind shifts that I help you go through, but the very last one, the fourth one that I share in my book, is that everything is a relationship. You relate to everything in your life, inanimate, living, space, time, energy, like everything's a relationship within you. Marilyn also mentioned I am the creator of the Inner Mosaic Method. Well, that method talks about all the different parts of you within yourself that were created through strong emotional impacts throughout the course of your life. Every strong emotional impact you've had likely created a different part of yourself. And we relate to each and every one of those parts. It's not just one little inner child. There might be many little ones running around. And if you can imagine a house with a bunch of little kids, it might be a little chaotic, right? At times, unless we find some order and some ways to communicate with one another. So when Audrey spoke about self-love, I was like, yes, right? It's about loving all the different parts of ourselves. And I want to add one more thing to that I like, this subtle nuance of trusting every part of yourself, right? So I think, like Audrey said, self-love is such a commercialized and overused word sometimes that people take it for granted, or they ignore it, or they don't see the value in it. But what I really like to do is to shift your mindset to really, do you trust yourself? Because that's what I felt when I was on the brink of divorce, when I was faced with my worst nightmare, my worst fear, which was, possibly ending my marriage with someone who was my high school sweetheart. And we'd been together for 10 years and we had 3 kids. And like that, literally, like mine and Audrey's stories were like this. And then we both found light. And so it doesn't matter which way you find it. I love the way she said the ending of like it really is that healthy ending, right? And the way that I call it is a completion of a relationship. And either way, you're going to grow, or and you can grow together, or the relationship will complete. And either way, you're in this self expansion journey, right? Either way that it goes. But kind of coming back to that, is what we're doing with all of you is learning how to love and trust yourself, to make these decisions day in and day out, because that's what I lost. Sorry, backtracking back to my story, like that's what I lost when I found out that my husband was hiding a 10-year addiction behind my back. I literally lost all trust in myself, because I was like, how did I not see that? Why was I being so blind? Like I was calling myself all the things that Audrey was talking about earlier, right? Like, I'm an idiot, like, right? All the critical things that you could think of. I was in school to be a marriage therapist, right? About like taking my comprehensive exam. That same day, I found out that he had an addiction and was hiding it behind my back. I also was a substance abuse counselor at that time. Can you imagine the critical thoughts that were happening at that moment? Like, you don't deserve to be a marriage therapist. Your marriage is falling apart. You don't deserve to be a substance abuse counselor. You're living with a drug addict. Like, hello, right? And so it was this rebuilding of trust within myself that opened up the opportunity, the possibility of loving myself again, right? And it's like 2 sides of the same coin. You can't love yourself if you don't trust yourself. You can't trust yourself if you don't love yourself. And it's so key and so important, right? So that's a lot of the things. Well, the reason why I originally mentioned everything is a relationship, we totally went down a different rabbit hole there. But the reason why I mentioned that is because we are on a podcast about nutrition, right? And one of the things that Audrey Alice was talking about earlier was how your thoughts, right, create your beliefs. You change your thoughts, you change your beliefs. And I also say that your partner is a perfect reflection of your beliefs, right? And guess what? Your thoughts are also the nutrients, the nutrition that you're feeding your mind and your soul. So we are very much, you might think, right, that nutrition might be talking about supplements or food or all these things. That's where my mind originally went to. And I know that Marilyn is going to be sharing something of a different type of nutrition to be feeding yourself and your mind and your body, right? But thoughts are one of those things. And the beliefs are one of those things that create your reality. So if your partner is a perfect reflection of your beliefs, which is thoughts that you've just been thinking over and over and over again, in order to change your relationships, in order to change your results in your marriage, all you got to do is start changing your belief system, right? Believe that men aren't liars. That was one I had to do. My beliefs were men lie. They are untrustworthy. They, what's the other one that my mom and my grandmother, they were alcoholics. They, were very passive, and yeah, they're good providers, but there's a lot of buts, right? I grew up in a matriarchal family. The women in my household were super powerful, super empowered, and talked a lot of crap about the men, to be honest. And so what did I marry? A man who resembled everything that I was told growing up. So it's all of this nutrition, right? This nutrients that we're feeding ourselves, like we need to change the supplement. We need to change what it is that we're putting into our minds, into our bodies, into our hearts. And everything really kind of circles back to that trust, right? Learning how to trust. Am I putting the right things in my mind? Am I allowing myself to be surrounded by the right people? Am I really in the right place, on the right path, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to pause there. And I just want each of you in this moment to really check in with yourself, those of you who are listening, to check in with yourself and ask yourself, you know, what is it in my partner, in my spouse, in my relationships, with my family members? It could be a parent, a child, any challenging relationship that you're in right now. Just go ahead and check in with yourself and see where there's discord. Like, what is it that annoys you? What's the pet peeve? Where's the conflict? What do you guys argue about most often? Where's the stuck point? Like, check in with yourself. And then I want you to kind of go back and identify if there's any place in your memory that you have a belief that almost validates this conflict, that almost validates this person's behavior towards you. So for example, with my husband, right, 7 years ago, when we were on the brink of divorce for the first time, because it happened again, but for the first time when we were on the brink of divorce, he was lying to me about his addiction, as I mentioned. And what I realized in that moment was that I didn't need to trust him. I needed to trust myself. And the reason why I needed to work on trusting myself was because I thought I couldn't pick good men. I thought that the men in my life, right, either leave me or they lie to me. And that stemmed from, one, my parents got divorced before, or separated before I was 1. So my dad left, right? Not by choice. He didn't leave me. He left the marriage. They left each other. But what that created was a distance from my father, because my mom had me most of the time and I didn't see my dad a lot. So men leave. And then 2, men lie. So my uncle, later on in life, when I was about 8, he wasn't feeling good one morning. And he had told me the day before that he wasn't feeling well, but he lied to everybody else in the household and told everyone he was fine. Well, that next morning, I saw him sitting hunched over on the bed, and I knew something was wrong because he was always gone before I woke up for school. And my mom, heard me off to school after waking up. And by the time I came home, what happened was I said to my mom, Uncle Richard died, yeah. And she's like, what? How do you know? And that in that moment, right, like it solidified for me that men lie to people. They don't tell the truth, and something really bad ends up happening. They leave again. He left me again. Not by physical, like moving away, but by death. And I can't trust them to do what's right. I can't trust them to take care of themselves. I can't trust them to stick around for me, right? And that's literally what happened in my own marriage. I married someone who was essentially just like my father, who was loving, charismatic, who was the life of the party, who cared about everyone, was just so charming and so amazing, and had a lot of self-doubt and talked a big story and, right, wasn't emotionally available. And when I realized that, I had to check in with myself, because it was like, I chose him. What in me made me choose him? And so that's what I'm asking you to do, right? Is check in with the things that you feel unhappy about in whatever relationship. It doesn't have to be a marriage. It could be parent, like I said, parent child, your mom, your dad, your child, your daughter, your son, your sister, a boss, whoever it is. And then go back and find where that belief was created and begin to change that. Obviously, like Audrey was saying, like, you might need the help. I needed help. She needed help in different ways, but find the person to help you to begin to change those beliefs, and your relationships, I promise, will begin to change too. I'm noticing the time, so I want to just invite Marilyn back to see if there was any questions or thoughts that you wanted to add, Marilyn.
Yeah,
I want to
so
be mindful of
thank
that.
you so much, Samantha. That was amazing. You know, redefining who we are in the relationship and out of the relationship, that stood out to me. And then when we change, everything changes. And I feel that, like, in my core, like, I have changed so much in the past 4 years, right? And I'm realizing I am not the same person, and that's okay. And then trusting every part of myself. And because I'm like, I'm changing so much, what's happening, right? So I can't love myself if I don't trust myself, and then
Yes.
I can't trust myself if I don't love myself. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, that really like hit home for me as well. Um, and your partner is a reflection of your beliefs. Holy moly, like that blew my brain too. I created the partner according to my beliefs at that time.
Yes, you'll attract that in your life.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Sam. So, my mind is just blown again. You know, I'm excited to get your book. I've already pre-ordered Finding Beauty in Your Broken Pieces, The Art and Science of Transforming Any Relationship. I look forward to getting your book, and please tell the listeners where they can find you.
Yes. Well, first of all, they can go and find my book at www.findingbeautybook.com. That's an easy way to have access to purchase the book. And then if you want to know more about me, you can go to my website at www.thegems. So that's TheGems.com. So thegems.com. And really quickly, I'll explain why there's two M's in there because people are like, why do you spell gems like that? It stands for the gift of each meaningful moment shared. And it's really allowing all of us to do that and to search for that. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank
Oh my
you.
gosh,
Thanks for the
yes.
opportunity to share and to just deliver. I don't even know what I said right now. Like, I'm glad I just delivered a message.
It was
Thank you.
perfect. Yes, so good. And we're going to wrap up. I do want to thank Mutual Aid Network for sponsoring this podcast. Mutual Aid Network is such a beautiful nonprofit where we take all of our strengths, and this is a community worldwide. We take our strengths and we're able to help other people with our strengths. So, you know, whether it be, for me, I love hosting Zoom karaoke because people around the world love to sing. And so I do that, and I help give back to the community of Mutual Aid Network and the people who love to sing around the world. And we can all enjoy different types of music, different types of songs. People think it's therapeutic to sing. So that's a way that I'm able to help give back to Mutual Aid Network. And there's other people, whether they be coaches or web design or whatever it is, whatever their strength is, how can we help each other? So it's a win-win-win. And also, I want to just thank Frequence. I have partnered with Frequence recently, and it is frequency meets nutrition. So 11 harmonic frequencies to help. Oh yes, Audrey is drinking it right now. Thank you, Audrey. As am I. And so 11 harmonic frequencies to help heal our organs, heal our bodies, and raise our frequencies, because we all want to feel better. We all want to feel good. And my testimony, since I have both Audrey and Sam here, that understand what I'm going through as we've talked and navigated. Last year, ending a 20-year relationship, having my business coach pass away suddenly, I was not in a good place. And I did the best that I could with the information I had, not realizing until I started feeling better after drinking the nootropics with the trace minerals and cleansing out my body, raising my frequency over a period of 2, 3 months. Then that's when I realized, gosh, I feel good. And when you compare yourself from when you're not feeling well to feeling well, it makes such a huge difference. A lot of us are going through life, myself included, that I thought I was okay until I started feeling better. And so that is a huge testimony. And please reach out to me if you have any questions. I would love to just educate more about raising people's frequency and vibration. Thank you again for tuning in to World of Nutrition, and we will see you next time. Much mahalo.